Ready? By the authority invested in me, I hereby declare this meeting of the Conshohocken Borough Council duly open and ready to conduct any business that may come before it. Roll call, Steph.
Councilmember Sokolowski? Here. Councilmember Barton? Here. Vice President Tutino?
Present.
Councilmember Flanagan?
Here.
Councilmember Stokely?
Here.
Councilmember Leonard?
Here.
President Griffin?
Here.
Mayor Faust?
Here. That prayer of council, please.
O divine Master, in deep humility we place ourselves, our thoughts, and our plans in thy hands. We beg thee to fill our minds and our wills with the gifts of wisdom, understanding, counsel, fortitude, knowledge, and piety. Help us not to think of self or personal desires, but rather consider the responsibilities laid upon us. Help us to promote as far as possible the welfare of our people and to treat them with impartiality and justice. Grant us the power to set a good example in thought, word, and deed, so that thy blessings will be showered upon us and the people we represent. Amen.
President, you do the flag?
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't have any announcements right now, and so I'll turn this over to Steph for moving up one of our hearings. Steph,
Yes.
on the bottom hearing up to the beginning of the meeting.
Quick announcement that we did have an executive session regarding a personnel matter and a legal matter. And Mr. Savona, we will be switching the agenda slightly to continue the public hearing on the 200 block of Washington Street, Millennium 4.
That's correct. We're on the record. This is the time and place set by council for the continued hearing on the application of Millennium Waterfront Associates LP concerning an application for conditional use under section 27-1503 of the Conshohocken zoning ordinance relating to building height for property located at the 200 block of Washington Street, otherwise identified as Millennium Block A. The applicant appeared before council on July 19th, 2017 in this chamber for the first scheduled hearing on this conditional use application. The matter was continued by consent to this evening, August the 16th, 2017. By email correspondence today, I received a request from Edmund Campbell, who represents the applicant, Millennium Waterfront Associates LP, requesting that the hearing scheduled for this evening be continued. Counsel for the two parties who have entered their appearance, Mr. Primavera and Mr. Weiss, have both consented to that continuance. So unless counsel is otherwise disposed, it would be my recommendation to grant a continuance of this hearing to a date certain, being October the 4th, 2017 at 7 p.m. in council chambers here in the Borough building.
Any other vote for that?
Need a motion to that effect?
I make a motion.
I'll second it.
I got a vote in a second for continuance. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Very well.
Motion carried.
This matter will be continued to October the 4th, 2017 at 7 p.m. in the public meeting room of Borough Hall. We're off the record. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Steph. Carry on, dear.
Tonight's presentations, we will start with the preliminary and final approval for 100-102 Forest Street plans for subdivision and land development. Mr. Jones representatives, if you can please come to the podium.
My name is Dave Zepp, and I'm with Joseph M. Estock Engineers. I'm here tonight to represent the owner of the property, ACL Development, and developer Tom Jones. And just to refamiliarize, I believe you've seen the plan before, but I'm going to give a brief summary to remind everybody. The property is 100 and 102 Forest Avenue. located on the northwest corner of the intersection of Forest and West First Street. The total acreage of the site was 6,000 square feet, and what the plan proposes to do is to subdivide that into 3 lots, 3 equal lots of 2,000 square feet, and the construction of 3 townhouses. The project, the front of the buildings or whatever, will front on West First Avenue with parking in the rear with access off of Forest Street. I could say we had received a variance for side yard setbacks to the property on Forest, and I'm going to say as far as going through the subdivision and land development process, we've been before the Planning Commission a few times, whatever, and have received approval. As I mentioned, I believe the plan's been before you already. Were there any questions that council may have, for us tonight? Because as we're actually hoping for preliminary and final approval this evening. So I can go into a little bit more depth description of the project if anybody's unfamiliar with it. There are some improvements to both West First Avenue and Forest Street. And going through the review process, there were some concerns. An ADA accessible crosswalk has been added at the intersection, which it did not exist before. And
I have a question on that.
Mhm.
You're talking at the corner there of First Avenue where the bump outs are.
Yes.
Now that I don't think that the handicap accessible is great, I have concerns about the bump outs for inclement weather when it snows. I don't know if that is an issue for our borough workers. Has that been raised at all?
It was discussed at a planning commission meeting and everything. And in talking about it, there is existing parking allowed along West First.
Correct.
Okay? And there are cars that park there now. The bump outs that were introduced to help facilitate the ADA accessible thing do not stick out any farther than what the parking that's along the street is parallel parking. And the bump outs that are introduced do not extend out any farther than any of the existing vehicles that would be parking there in the current situation right now. So as far as like snow removal or whatever, within the borough employees or whatever, I'm not sure myself personally if those vehicles have to get off the street in a weather condition or if they remain parked there. But it's simply a situation of there's existing parking that's allowed along the street, okay?
I understand.
And if they're parked there, the new proposed bump outs that you see on the plan do not project out any farther than what the existing cars would be if they were on the street in a weather event that would require snow removal. So it's actually a situation, we feel that it's certainly not a detriment to snow removal. It's possible it may even enhance it as far as I know.
So can I ask a question? I understand what you're saying. If the snow is then piled on the handicap ramp, whose responsibility is it to clear that? Does that become the homeowner's responsibility? Because that hill on First Avenue, you can't push the snow straight forward. You're going to have to put the snow somewhere. And that's a little crowded down there, and then we're going to have a project down there. So, I don't even know if I'm asking the right question.
I understand your question completely and everything. And I'm not sure if I can answer it honestly as far as who would be responsible, but just my gut feel is
Association.
All right, Mr. Jones is answering the question. I was going to say the individual owner of unit number 3 on the corner, but Mr. Jones has alerted me that the homeowners association will be responsible for that. So, There will be, I'll speak up at this time, there is going to be a homeowners association developed with this project here. So obviously, they're going to be responsible for the snow removal in the drive in the rear, and then obviously out along the sidewalks that are within the borough's right-of-way. And then that would obviously include the corner improvements with the ADA accessible ramps.
I do have a question. I'd actually like to get our Borough Works supervisor's opinion on that, since you'll be in charge of that snow plowing.
I did bring up some concerns based on the workers' questions about these ramps. There was an administrative oversight. I was never given a copy of this after it was proposed. At that time, through no fault of their own, I mean, I didn't have any input in that. If I did at the time, it is a concern for us. It always has been, even with the bump outs out. That intersection is a concern for Public Works. It's a steep grade, 8-9%.
It's double digits.
Yeah,
It's
going down.
14.
14% going down Forest Street. That has to be cleared for everything from fire trucks to trash trucks to any commercial traffic. The fact that this is 12 feet unimpaired by any snow or anything else. We personally know how the conditions are there because that's where our offices were. That was the parking for the administrative staff. So we know the difficulties there when Light and Parker was there. Now, Light and Parker is not there, but we don't know what's coming in Light and Parker. So those were the concerns that were expressed first by the people that are employed by the borough that work for me. We actually did a mock loop around the borough of Conshohocken for snow removal to get prepared for the following year, and this was one of our major concerns. That Forest Street was blocked on the last moderate snowstorm that we had to the point where commercial vehicles couldn't get through because how tight the parking became on that hill. So that's the concern. But again, we had oversight, never saw it, so I never had any conversations with anybody, any representatives for them. I
Ray,
kind
is
of
there
got
a
late in the
different
game here.
understanding that we would have to do the ADA ramps at that intersection? Is there any other configuration that would work better?
Paul's not here. He was at the Planning Commission meeting, I think, on Thursday, and this was something that was going to be that we were going to discuss afterward. But unfortunately, he went on vacation. I didn't have an opportunity to talk to him. I don't know what the original plans were. Was there an original plan before these came into play?
Yes, there was, and if I can, I'd like to address that or anything. It was strongly suggested that we provide the ADA ramps. The design of the bump outs came into play to facilitate how that could be accomplished. I'm sorry.
Right.
Right? As Ray pointed out, Forest Street, where it's very steep, it's double-digit slopes and it's like 14%. And that starts, actually, I'll point it out. The existing curb line is right here. And then that steep slopes pretty much starts right beyond that. There's existing inlets here, and the steep slope starts pretty much right behind that existing curb. The bump outs allowed us to move that ADA ramp and the crosswalk down into what is a much more level area, which is West First Avenue. If the bump outs are not there, if we take them out and remove them and go back to what our original plan was, what that would do is that would push that ADA ramp and the crosswalks up onto the steep portion of Forest Street. So then you would have pedestrians and actually someone with a disability trying to traverse across Forest Street on a fairly severe cross slope. We felt that the bump outs, whatever, would allow us to facilitate providing that crosswalk under much more favorable conditions.
Do you have a sheet with a plan that shows those elevations? Because I'm familiar with that area as well, and I'm not necessarily convinced that you couldn't slide that back further towards away from West First Avenue and still not accommodate the
Obviously, the need for handicap ramps, especially at that location, is undoubtedly, they have to be there. There's no.
The question is where, though, and it's,
Yes.
I'm just trying to find out if there's a place that you could do it without the intrusiveness, or maybe not that intrusive a bump out.
So being familiar with that area, you understand the concerns that
Oh, yeah,
the workers have. Fire trucks have. The fire department has expressed, members of the fire department have expressed the same concerns about turning that corner in regular conditions. Now we have that. And I understand the parking situation. I read the decision of the Planning Commission. It really didn't address the concerns that we have. I mean, the fact that, yeah, cars can park there, but that is a crosswalk. It is illegal for cars to park across the crosswalk. They would be parked away from the crosswalk. That basically would be the area where, historically, snow was left. Now that area is removed. For the 5 years that I was at that administrative building, that's where snow ended up, in that intersection. Now, to remove that, understand that.
Anyway, because we got to shovel the walks.
Yeah,
It's gotta go somewhere.
the concern is that, understand that everybody understands that just presents a situation where we've had in multiple places in the borough of Conshohocken where we've added these bump outs. The default setting, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to bump outs, should be that that's the last resort, because we've removed them recently and not put them back because of these similar scenarios. Issues with snow, issues with emergency vehicles. It's just not one of those things, and I don't think I would be, I think I'd be remiss in not bringing it up, at least pointing it out. I understand this is far along in the process, and again, I will stress the fact that it was an administrative error on our part that didn't allow this to be brought up prior to getting here. But again, I still think it should be something either discussed or understood that this could present an issue.
Has our engineering department at all looked at this new change?
I'm sorry?
Has our engineering department looked at this new change at all?
Um,
You know? Oh, he has?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Hughes, part of the borough, he's seen this, and also your consulting engineer, Gilmore Associates, have also seen this, and they're in agreement with it, or have no problems with it. They see it as a viable solution.
And
Not discounting what Ray's concerns.
I have a question on that. Did any of them consult with you before they approved that?
No.
Okay.
And I did, the conversation that I had with Paul, he did say it was a viable solution. But he didn't say that he proved it.
Right. It's a viable, but maybe not the ideal
Yes.
or the only solution.
Yeah, that he made that clear, that he believed that it was a viable solution, and it took care of the problem for the development.
So how
Not
about,
necessarily the problem for the borough.
so can we put a stipulation on it?
That-
That we will,
Well, I mean, there's one other issue that I think that was raised. Stephanie and I got an
Oh, we have
email
to-
from the consulting engineer as I was literally driving over here this evening concerning the configuration of the parking. If you can pull back that map down of the proposed parking space behind Unit 3, the unit on the corner. If you slide that a little over so we can see the config.
Yes,
There
thank
go.
you.
So you have a proposed driveway coming in off of that steep Forest Street, and to meet the parking requirements, council had already asked the zoning board to put a stipulation on that the garages could not be used for storage, they had to be used for parking.
Correct.
But those are one-car garages, they enter off of that back driveway, and then to accommodate the additional parking, you have lined off what amount to, I guess, parallel,
It's a little
three
tough
spaces.
to see,
Right.
whatever, but I can point it out.
So you got one space there, one space
Space.
there, and
The middle unit,
the-
space
and the
away.
last space far over. The first two, in units 1 and 2, the spaces meet the required dimension, but that's required under the ordinance, but space 3, your space is 2 feet shorter, I think it's 2 feet or 3 feet shorter than the required borough parking space.
Actually, that's not correct. One of the things, the original plan, whatever, Unit 3 was a mirror image of what it is, and Mr. Savona was correct that there was a parking stall of 9 by 18 feet and it encroached onto the garage entrance. But that is a very good suggestion by your staff. They had recommended that we flip unit number 3 and mirror image it. So that's just like number 1. And so now the 3 parallel parking spaces that are behind the units, they actually are 9 by 18 feet, which is your standard space. However, your standard space within the borough on your streets, parallel parking is 8 by 22 feet. All right? But we're in a situation where we don't have a parallel parking space out on the street. It's parallel because it's parallel to the curb, but it's not truly a parallel parking space along a street. The reason a parallel parking space is 22 feet long when you're out in a street situation is you got to be able to maneuver your vehicle in there if somebody's right behind you and right in front of you. In this situation here where we're parking, it's a parallel space, and we're showing it as 9 by 18, so technically that doesn't meet the 22 feet. But it's a situation where there's nobody in front of you or behind you. You're pulling into your space like you're pulling up the curb, with no other cars along the street. There's room to maneuver. You actually have, we're showing a 9 by 18 foot space, so it's 18 foot long, but the units itself are 26, 28 feet wide, and the end units have even more. So there's actually 26 feet wide that you could pull into. We just showed the space 9 by 18.
Right, but I think that's not the concern. The concern that the consulting engineer had was that the size of those spaces doesn't accommodate certain sizes of vehicles. For example, if I drive a Chevy Silverado pickup truck, I'm not going to be able to park it in that space without blocking access to the garage because of the way that those are configured. And if the intent the council had clearly articulated when they supported the zoning application was to make sure that these units were going to have off-street parking, if anybody that's living in one of those units has a vehicle that's too big to fit into that space without blocking the garage, it's not going to serve its purpose, and you're going to end up with that vehicle parking on the street. I think that was the point that was raised. It's not a question of the size of the space or anything that you just discussed. It's a question of whether or not the space was sufficiently sized to accommodate the size vehicles that could be parking there, which is a whole different concern.
They fit in an 18-foot spot. The Chevy Silverado fits in an 18-foot spot.
Well, your own engineer sent an email today disputing that. The AASHTO manual says a P-designed vehicle, which is what the large truck would be considered, an appropriately designed space for a vehicle that size has to be a minimum of 19 feet long. And yours are 18 feet.
Yeah, but they wouldn't fit in the garage either. Our garage is only.
Right. I'm raising it only as a point of concern because it's still a comment in the consulting engineer's review letter. As proposed in the approval, you'd have to comply with it. And I'm not sure you've got room or have even considered how to reconfigure to accommodate for that P-size design vehicle under the appropriate design manual. Which, well, I mean,
Just go right down the line and put 22-foot spots, 23-foot spots.
well, then you'd have to reconfigure the driveway
No, just put them along the wall.
on the back.
Yeah.
Sure.
You got 26 feet on each unit, but I don't know what's in the middle.
Well, if that's the solution, then my recommendation, honestly, Tom, given the concern about the bump outs and your concern about moving the parking space to the back wall, which may require additional turning movement analysis and a reconfiguration of the driveway so that you can accommodate those spaces on the back wall if you're going to go 22 apiece, you're not ready for an approval tonight.
Well, it would be like parking on the street. 22-foot spot. That's all you need, parallel parking. You put them right in the line.
Sure. And then how do they turn around and how do they get out and how do they get in if there's...
Because they're going right in. See, the cars wouldn't be there on this side. Back out of your driveway and pull out.
I think what you're saying
You have
is,
the
how are they gonna get out of the garage if there's a car?
Correct. How are they going to get out of the garage? If I'm parked against the wall, how do I turn around to get back out of the driveway? Do I have to move the driveway further toward West First Avenue, the driveway off of Forest Street in order to accommodate those vehicles parking along the wall?
We do, but I can turn to a plan that's the turning template, but the turning templates on this particular plan or whatever are not the P design.
Right.
The turning templates that are shown here
Or for smaller
are,
vehicles?
well, They're for large passenger vehicles, but that doesn't include, your large size pickup
Sure,
trucks and your
SUVs.
Suburbans.
Cool.
Which
It's
everyone
down
drives.
here to give them more turning space up there. But see, they
But
still
it's like-
come out, are they gonna have that radius coming out of the
Now,
garage?
if they may address that, the parking spaces that were shown, those were 9 by 18, or whatever. The P-size design vehicle, whatever, that's for a vehicle that could be 19 feet long, and that does then include your big vehicles, your F-150 pickup trucks with the super crew cabs on them, and your Suburbans and Tahoes, whatever. But the 9 by 18 space or whatever, it's like, we're talking about a design vehicle then that could possibly be 19 feet long. It's like, it would be parked in that space. There'd be a slight encroachment into an area behind the garage, but I'm not so sure that the area behind the garage is gonna be so restricted that you can't get in and out of it. The units themselves are close to 30 feet wide.
How wide's the garage door?
How wide's the garage door? Like I say, the garage door that we show on here was 8 feet wide. Actually, make sure I'm not.
Yeah, very well.
Yeah, but Mr. Jones, better memory than me, the garage doors, the actual garage door is shown 8 feet wide. And then the
Park
width
here.
that we provide,
You have a whole
whatever,
issue of parking.
leading up to the garage, well, actually,
Especially if
the
it's
door
like-
is 8 feet wide, the garage is actually 10 feet wide, and that's the area that we have behind it, before we, before we show where the 19-foot, I'm sorry, 9 by 18-foot parking space. So we feel that even if the large design P vehicles were parked in those spaces there, that you would still be able to access your garage, the owners, the occupants, whatever, would still be able to access their garages and get out. It would be a situation where it would be tight, depending on, what vehicles these homeowners own. But I
Well-
have no idea, I'm not familiar with the percentage of people that live in the borough of Conshohocken or who would even occupy these houses. With these 3 units, would they all have construction workers in there that have your big F-250 pickup trucks and your Tahoes and Suburbans?
Yeah.
I don't know. The answer to that question is certainly they could with all 3 of them,
Well, I mean, this is, I only raise it because it's a concern that was raised both by Paul Hughes and internally and by the consulting engineer, and I'm not sure, I spoke to the consulting engineer on the way over here this evening, I'm not sure we've reached a reasonable conclusion that the borough's consultants are ready to say that the plan is really adequate as it's currently configured with respect to those parking spaces. And now with the issue of the bump outs and the location of the handicap ramps, I mean, it just seems to me it may be better advised if council were to table the consideration of the approval tonight, give them some time to go back and work through those 2 issues. That gives Ray some time to work on other alternative solutions for the handicap ramps and the bump outs. And look at it, Hughes, your timing's impeccable. We were just about to table your resolution, Ed. 2 issues that council's raised. One is the configuration of the bump outs and the handicap ramps create what we think is a public safety issue when it comes to how our Public Works Department handles snow removal, plowing, and how those bump outs are configured, given the depth of the slope on Forest Street and the historic issues that we've had with that intersection. Secondarily, we've got outstanding issues from both the borough engineer and our outside consulting engineer with respect apparently to the size of those parking spaces as they're currently configured in the back. They don't provide enough clearance to park a large size pickup truck or suburban sized vehicle without protruding into the area where the garage door would provide access in and out.
Talking about the outside spaces?
The outside spaces behind the house. as council had made clear, I think, when the application came before the zoning board, one of our primary concerns was that there be no on-street parking as a result of this development. So I think there's some legitimate concern that if those spaces are designed in a way that don't make them convenient to use for parking off-street, that somebody that drives an F-250 pickup truck and lives in one of those houses is just going to park it on the street, and it's going to cause problems for the neighborhood generally. So my suggestion to council and to the applicant would be, maybe given the concerns that Ray has raised regarding the handicap ramp, bump outs, and with Mr. Jones's consideration that he may move the spaces to the back wall and set them up in a different configuration, it might warrant tabling this resolution at this point, and coming back in a couple of weeks once we've had a chance to maybe rework this and reconsider the configuration.
Well, the bump out is similar to Hector Street, isn't it?
Which we've been removing
We didn't want
because
them
they've
removed.
proven to be a problem.
There's only one, and everyone else is clear, so there's that little area right by the bump out where you couldn't get the snow plowing. Plowing, you're on the curve. Doesn't seem like a lot of area that wouldn't be able to be hit by a snow plow.
Well, our Public Works Department thinks differently, which is why I think council's got some concerns there.
We went through that with Paul Hughes at the borough level and with the engineer, and that's what configuration we came up with. There's a certain reason why that's preferable, to slow down traffic on First Avenue, calming device.
Yeah, and as Ray articulated before you got here, part of the disconnect there, I think, is our fault, but administratively, we hadn't included Public Works into that discussion before Mr. Hughes and I think and Gilmore both said that this was a viable solution, but not necessarily one that would be preferred by the borough and not necessarily the only solution. I think that's really the issue. We're just trying to make sure, belt and suspenders, that whatever configuration we come up with is going to do as little harm or cause as little inconvenience to the public works staff when they're out trying to clear the streets as possible. May well be that you sit down and work through it and there's no other way to viably do it, but.
Part of the reason was to create a viable handicap ramp across.
Oh, sure.
That exists now, and there were some issues with conflicts with underground utilities and things that come straight across. So that's why we came up with that after reviewing the planning commission, at least on 2 occasions.
Right.
And as far as the trucks, I mean, it's a community association. We can restrict the size of vehicles that can use the parking areas. I don't know if a big pickup fits in any garage or any driveway in front of a house in the borough.
Well, and that's the concern. We don't want them on the street. And again, that's not a secret. The council made that very, very clear from the first time you guys came in with your zoning application, that council supported the application conditioned on the garages being used for off-street parking, not storage. And we asked the zoning board to make that a condition. I don't see it as a viable solution to say, well, you're not allowed to park a large pickup truck in that parking space. That if I own it, that means I'm just going to park it on the street, and that's not what council was out to try to accomplish here.
Even your, the size of the garage on your alleys is only 352 square feet, which is 18 by 18. We have to come get a variance from that code section. These spaces are bigger than that.
Mm-hmm.
We've been this thing to death for about 1.5 years now. Sometimes we might even get invited to meetings about it, but.
Including you.
Further delay.
Including your own client.
So, Mike, they've been waiting a long time. Can we, if they can get Ray, our engineer, and you guys together, can we vote on it the next workshop meeting?
You could.
To give them the next 2 weeks
Sure.
earlier,
To expedite it.
to expedite it?
I mean, look, it's up to council. If you're comfortable that, the issue is not an issue, the bump out issue isn't an issue, that we could address the parking space issue in the homeowners association documents and have it be enforceable, you could vote on it tonight. If you're not comfortable with that, you'd like to have those issues examined a little more closely, then you could table it to the next work session, which would be September 6th. We could come back on the 6th and hopefully have the kinks worked out by then. It's purely up to council.
I recommend we table it for now and get some clarification on this.
Yeah, I think so too. What you going? So when you have Paul here, the engineer, so he can help Ray and Paul can get together. And I think it's something minor, but these two can work it out. But we'll table it until
Then you need a motion to
September
that effect.
6th.
I'll make the motion.
Got a motion, a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Table to September 6th.
Very good.
Thank you.
See you in a couple weeks.
Chris Stetler, if you could please come to the podium. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a hearing regarding the waiver of off-street parking for 4 East First Avenue, Authentically Greek LLC.
This is a restaurant use that is being proposed for 4 East First Avenue. You've heard several requests for waivers, some for the office upstairs, one for Snap Pizza. Property is currently, the portion of the building is currently used as an accounting office. The site has no off-street parking, has no possibility of adding off-street parking. The applicants are here in attendance, so that they can answer any questions you might have about the business. It is a Greek restaurant with some indoor seating, but mostly designed for takeout. Maria, Manos, and Jeff.
Good evening, esteemed council members. My name is Maria Corpus. I'd like to introduce you to my brother-in-law, James Shudis, and my partner as well in the business of Authentically Greek, and Manos Kavadias, who is our architect.
Thank you.
As Chris stated, we are here to discuss our need for off-street parking for our business. We hope that it's a successful one, and we believe that your assistance with this issue will be of great help to us. We are opening a Greek cuisine restaurant, a fast casual restaurant, which basically what we anticipate is that 80% of the business will be mostly a walk-up type of business. And since there is very limited parking in the area to take advantage of, the other point that we wanted to kind of hammer home is that it's more so of a fast service restaurant. There is seating capacity inside that will accommodate for up to 28 individuals. However, we anticipate because of its location and the community that's present, that it will primarily be more of a takeout restaurant in that theory. Do you need me to explain a little bit more about the restaurant as far as hours?
I just wanted to add also with the food preparation in terms of what we'll be serving in terms of the menu. It's a very quick serve menu. We're talking about gyros, things that are almost already prepared. Everything's already on the spit, cooking as everybody's coming in. So it's not. We're looking at between 5 to 7 minutes of somebody coming in and leaving with the food. So that's our timeline. That's what we're pushing.
We'll also have prepackaged foods available too that were prepared earlier in the day. So to add to Jim's point, so we feel the flow will be kind of in and out, and mostly that. Primarily.
They deliver?
No delivery at
No
this
delivery?
time. If we do in the future, it will be an outside source. It won't be our own drivers inside. It will be like a Grubhub type service where we're just coming and picking up.
What hours would you be open?
Our hours we anticipate Monday through Thursday, 10 to 11.
10 to 9. 11 to 9.
11 to 9. I'm so sorry. My apologies. And then on weekends, 11 to 11.
And Sunday's closed.
Yep.
How many employees you going to have?
I'm sorry?
How many employees?
We don't anticipate more with managers or owners, as me and Maria will be there a lot. No more than 5 people. 3 to 5 we're looking at. Busiest times on the weekends it'll be at 5, and probably 3 to 5.
So would it be counter service or would there be waitress service?
Counter
Counter
service.
service, okay, so people would not come in, sit down, place an order?
No.
So even the
no.
people eating in would be there half an hour or 45 minutes maybe?
Perhaps.
Maybe.
Okay,
Yeah, it'll be more of a, just running the food out to them. In other words, like.
right, they order at the counter and,
Sit,
that's
bring it out to you.
like a pizza shop?
Exactly, exactly.
Do you currently have this type of business anywhere else?
I've just recently sold I had 2 pizzerias, and this is a concept I've been working on for the last 10 years. I've wanted to get out of the pizza business because pretty much the competition has just gotten to the point where you can spit in the air and hit a pizzeria. So the Greek food is something new, and people are kind of trying new things nowadays. Things have changed in terms of quick service, takeout, restaurants, and with Mexican hitting big, and I think the Greek is the next step that's going to hopefully hit.
If I may add to it as well, we are actually Greek Americans, and we wanted to do something to honor our heritage. I'm actually in healthcare, and I wanted to do something that was a little healthier, a healthier concept as well. So I've been working on this as well for a few years, and we decided just to join forces and keep it in the family and provide something delicious to the community. Since we are so family-oriented as a culture, we enjoy Conshohocken. We fell in love with it years ago. We thought it would be the perfect place to open our first Greek concept.
And just to answer your question, my two businesses, one was in Wayne, I had a pizzeria, and one was in Booth Wynn.
So you're estimating table turnover. You don't really have knowledge of table turnover for this type of
This type of
business.
business. I've sold this type of food in my restaurants. So it's quick service. I mean, it's salads,
Yeah, I think the reason why we're kind of drilling you is if you just kind of look at it, and if you were here a few minutes ago, that part of town does not have a lot of parking.
Correct.
If you look at fast casual restaurant, 28 people sitting in to eat, 7 cars if they're tables of 4. Plus then 5 more employees. We're up to 12 cars at any given time. So we're just concerned that, well, of course we want to promote business. We just want to make sure that we're thoughtful in what we are kind of going through and approving at this point. So that's kind of why we're asking these questions.
Absolutely. Thank you, for doing so as well.
it's a concern for us. I mean, just,
Sure.
because if people don't have somewhere to park, I mean, they're not going to come in. That's why we're pretty much, we understand that. We've wanted to come to Conshohocken for a while, to be honest with you. We love it here, but, we understand that, and that's why we're hoping that we hit a lot of the walk-up traffic, nighttime, walk-around, the
Neighborhood businesses, locals.
I don't know if it's possible not to put as many tables in there to not promote so much sitting there for periods of time. I'm just coming up with some ideas to promote more of
More the takeout
takeout
aspect
side.
versus
Yeah.
the sit-in.
Try to hire local people that they can walk to work. It'll help you and benefit us also.
Absolutely.
Hire local
idea.
people.
Absolutely.
Great idea.
They can walk to work or,
That would be the best for all of us. I mean, I love having workers that are close by.
Having observed, I assume, the traffic down there on the weekends. It's brutal.
Definitely.
Coming from the outside, have you stood there and said, if I was in charge, I would, any suggestions that you might offer as observing what's going on down there and what we might do to make things better for you? I mean, there was a pretzel place right around the corner from me a couple of years ago, Philly Pretzel. Everybody loves it, right? Every
Didn't
car
make
going
it.
by goes, man, Philly Pretzel, where's it gonna park? Ride around the block once or twice,
Right.
year and a half, Philly Pretzel, they closed up.
Don't scare the guy.
No, I don't want to see him close up at all. I think it's a great idea,
Yeah.
but looking at it as an outsider, do you see anything you could do?
Did you try to get any parking spaces on the parking garage right up there?
The parking garage across the street,
Yeah.
I mean, they're a little tight, to be honest with you, but I haven't had a problem every time I come to go to the.
Yeah, I know what you call it, used to have the accounting, Stewarding.
Yeah, story.
Well, he had 3 parking spots up on the garage
Yes,
deck.
he did, yes, he told me.
Yeah. He didn't even use off-street parking.
Right, but I mean, I don't know, but he said that after a certain time, the downstairs is also open, is that true?
The parking
In the
garage?
Second
evenings.
floor, the bottom floor?
The underground.
Yeah, Mr. Story told me. I don't
That's
know.
on Pulver. Yeah,
The
Pulver.
bottom,
Don
Pulver.
Culver's.
the bottom is open, apparently it's just not for public use.
Oh.
Am I correct in that?
Yes.
But
It's
after-
only the top deck.
Yeah.
So not after a certain time, no?
Just don't say that out loud.
And then you ought to try across the street.
I don't
The
know if it,
Keystone, your
I don't
parking
know if
garage.
it becomes an issue or not, but it technically is not.
It's not. It's owned by one of our developers.
Right now, there is that parking across the street
Yeah, it's-
off of
Yes,
First.
yes.
Or he could try Keystone, the parking garage right across the street there
Okay.
on First Avenue.
The parking, I don't know, every time I drive by it, I don't see much, maybe on weekends, but around the corner, isn't there a block of parking that goes up the street? If you go up
Back
first?
Behind the
Yeah,
pizza?
Yeah, to the left of
Usually filled,
Ted's.
yeah, usually filled.
It is filled usually?
So you haven't made any attempts to secure any parking from any of the things that we've talked about yet, at this point?
No,
Okay.
to be honest, no.
They may not have been aware that they could.
You're right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
Neither was I.
Is there any spots left in that garage? Steph, do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head, but we can definitely work with the applicant to see if we can secure additional spots.
Now, is Mr. Storty still in the building, or did he leave the building?
No, he's out. He left the
He
building.
left the building.
He
Does
left
he
the
still
building,
have his
yeah.
spots? He probably doesn't.
I don't know if he have his spots. No, he
You
probably
might wanna
gave up the
call him and
spots
ask
when he
him.
call him. Did he still have the spots
See if
on
he
the
at least
deck?
get those 2 spots.
Okay.
That's what
Thank you for that
a
information.
lot of our restaurants do in the area is get their own parking.
Oh, I see.
So it's helpful.
Yeah, Mr. Story moved his accounting office to his son's home.
Okay.
Yeah, he moved it up to what you,
Okay.
up this, on by the pike. He moved it to the accountant office.
Great, thank you. What are we?
Thank you very much.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did we approve the waiver?
Are we?
You have to make a motion to approve the waiver, yes.
tell him to come
If
back.
you are inclined to do so,
You.
if you are inclined to do so, you would have to make a motion
I'll
to
make a
approve the
motion.
waiver.
Approve.
I'll second it.
Okay,
Yes.
you got a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'll take a blueberry crepe, please.
Motion approved.
And I would like,
Approved.
Stephanie, you to work with them
Call
to try and
Johnny.
find them
Johnny's
parking.
Stewart. He might help you get them parking.
But if,
Call
like,
Johnny. Call him. He'll probably help you get parking down
also hire people from town,
down if you can.
yeah, it'll benefit.
I think you can work with Stephanie,
Yeah.
the borough.
I will be in contact with
Yes.
you directly. We can talk about parking, we can talk about staffing. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I hope he didn't scare you.
When are you planning to open?
End of October.
Why not now?
You get samples?
Yeah,
I think they'll do well.
At this time, I'd like to call Lieutenant Metz to the podium. Lieutenant Metz will be providing a traffic report encompassing the 6th Avenue traffic study, 6th Avenue stop sign installation, and the implementation of a traffic control plan.
Hey, George.
She's working on it.
I hope there's some people from West Sixth here. Anybody from West Sixth here? Good. After last month's discussion, I was fortunate enough to attend that meeting, and I got to hear everybody. And as a result, we did another traffic speed survey on the 400 block of West Sixth Avenue. I'm sorry, you may have trouble seeing that, but I can explain the numbers. What we found is we ran one in the fall of 16, and we found what we thought we would, that there was a mostly compliance, very few high-risk violations. But as it concerns, we listened to the neighbors speak, so we ran another one and we ran it this time with a display mode off. The first one, people could see their speed. You know, it was a twofold: count cars, how fast is everybody going, but people that are approaching can see their speed and they slow down. We ran it without that feature this time because we thought maybe we have a solution right here, right? The numbers are the same. There's, you know, I don't want to say that you don't see speeding cars on West 6th Avenue, because you do. But I can tell you from an enforcement point of view, these enforcement percentages are very low on West 6th Avenue. With the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania restricts us in the equipment we use as to when we can start enforcing the law, and that's 10 miles an hour. So to get into the moderate violations before we can even issue a citation to somebody for speeding, and that's over 10 miles an hour above the speed limit. So that's like 36 and above. Now there are numbers in that range. They're called low-risk violators. But, you know, well over 70% of people are either going the speed limit or under the speed limit. Actually, the average is less than the speed limit. There was one high-risk violator in this latest one that was over 20 miles an hour. And that car was going 55 miles an hour, but there was one of them. And there was single digits and low teens in the moderate areas that we can enforce. So really, we're looking in a day's time in that block on West 6th Avenue. We could, if we spent all day down there monitoring traffic, we could have issued 9, 10, 11, 12 citations, or had a reason to stop 9, 10, 11, 12 people. It really is that way. That being said, we're going to be friends after this, right? I know you see speeding cars, and there's other dynamics down there. You know, and we've talked about this, and we looked at it a little bit. We talked to the mayor, you know, down there. You know, Ray was down there, and we talked about it. There's uniqueness to that you don't see anywhere else in town, that I think is a contributing factor here to the things we hear, the complaints that we hear from the people that live there. One is, it's wide. Yeah. You know, it's one of the wider streets. It may not be the widest, but there's no angle parking down there in that area, so it just opens up wide, which it probably encourages speeding. And there's also some pretty bad sight lines down there, and there's driveways, which is also unique to the avenues. There's not many places that have driveways, especially that go down or behind the house like they do there. So people are backing uphill out of their driveways with cars parallel parked on the side street, limiting their view and stuff like that, which is, you know, one of the people here said that, you know, her husband actually has to stand out there to make sure traffic is stopped so she can back out. I believe that is true, that it's a concern for her, and it's not necessarily because of speed. It's some of the contributing factors down there. And I don't know if, you know, we can sit down and make recommendations in the future of things to do down there. I understand that the mayor did sign a special order to place a stop sign down there. I think that will have an effect. At least, in my opinion, if it would have an effect, especially in the higher end speeders, like somebody going 55 miles an hour down there. It's got less of a chance to get going at least he has to tap the brakes. It will create people violating a stop sign violation though, too, but that's a much easier thing to enforce. And I think it is a good idea, and I think it will have an effect. And we'll look into that in the coming weeks and maybe do another survey down there, to see what kind of numbers we come up with after that. I suspect they'll probably be in the same range. Maybe it'll knock down some of the higher end stuff, hopefully. But that's West 6th Avenue. So we have a, and anybody have questions on that, the survey?
I do. I'm kind of curious. How do you do a survey for speeding if you don't use the tape that goes across the street?
Okay, I'll explain how the equipment works.
Okay.
That's radar.
Okay.
And it's positioned through GPS, and it has software attached to it and all. And you attach it and you aim it. You tell the computer where you want it to look. And it's aimed at a certain spot on West 6th Avenue in the 400 block. And it's just like when you're going around a corner on a turnpike and the state trooper's there. It's the same technology, but it's built into the unit. And it's recording everything that way. Once they're installed, we do accuracy checks on them twice with a calibrated speedometer, just to make sure that what it's saying is true. And so we do accuracy checking. It's very reliable equipment. It's easy to use. And this is what it tells us.
Well, what does the tape do? Is it similar?
Tapes can be used for two different things. They could be counters, or they can measure speed. The same speed equals distance divided by time. It's the same principle. So you can measure speed with it. This is a kind of new technology that's replacing that stuff.
Cool. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so that, all the talk of traffic led us in the direction of doing something, you know what I mean, to initiatives, borough-wide, to try and address some of these problems. And really, we want compliance. And I'll offer opinion on that. I think it's effective when you can show yourselves doing things. Because we're not going to be there all the time. But if you can go out there and make a presence in uniform, stopping cars, doing a detail, whatever, targeting certain areas that are brought to our attention over a period of time, and rolling it out with the correlation of school beginning and some public awareness about that and stuff. So that was our goal. Our goal was to set out and do that. And it started this week, and I can tell you, right now it's just patrol initiatives. People are still on vacation. We have cops on vacation. So we're doing some patrol initiatives, and they're reporting those numbers back to me, their activities every day. And at the end of the day, we'll put together a report and look at, it gives you guys the opportunities in the upcoming, campaign season to meet with your constituents, and I'm sure you'll hear about what their concerns are, and just pass them along to me. Send me an email, give me a call, and we'll look into it and see what we can do.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions about that?
No, I have a compliment, though. I did meet one of your officers down on West 2nd Avenue. I was walking to my car, and he was in his patrol car with the speed gun on Spring Mill Avenue.
Oh, okay.
So I thought that was, even before you made a public comment about it, we're out there patrolling.
Yeah, well, it's
That
stuff
was
that we
awesome.
normally do, but we're made some rules around it and requirements for our officers to meet every day, and we'll see how it goes, and we'll let you know.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Matt.
Will be going up?
Yeah, we'll be getting them probably within a week.
Lieutenant Metz,
Something went up?
Yes, ma'am.
thank
You're
you
right.
You're welcome.
for taking this seriously. I put a challenge out there, and I think the police department came through in identifying that we do need more community policing, and I think this initiative is great, and I would hope that we can continue it as the years go on.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yo, Ray, you did put up a stop sign down there.
Yes.
Yes. Two of them. There's three of them down there.
Okay,
Thank you, Lieutenant Metz.
thank you. Thank you. Okay, Steph.
Next on the agenda is the consent agenda items. You have the July 5th and July 19th meeting minutes, and you have accepting the July ending treasurer's report and accounts payable. Are there any questions on those two items? Hearing none, if I can have a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. President. New business items. Item A under new business will be tabled for this evening. We are still hashing out final details with the potential leasee. That will be tabled for a future council meeting. Ms. Stetler, if you could please come to the podium for items B and C. The next item is considering approving the adoption of a revised federal program income reuse policy.
This is actually the first time we have done an income reuse policy. And it's really necessitated by the fact that we changed our procedures for the housing rehab program from an outright grant to a deferred payment loan. The deferred payment loan would allow 25% of the cost of the rehabilitation to be forgiven each year, as long as someone does not transfer the property and continues to live there. If they don't, the property is sold, then we recover whatever is left on the loan, which becomes program income. The state is fairly strict on using program income, not so much on using it, but as there are specific guidelines on how much, when you have to have a plan. So we needed to have a plan, and the plan has to be an approved plan by the governing body. So this would be for funds from construction that are returned, and the easiest and most rational, I think, way to do that is to reuse it for other housing rehabilitation programs. And I tried to anticipate a question like, what else could we do with the money? We would have to go through an approval process with the state, and it would have to be something allowed under CDBG and home. So it's not like we could take the money, put it in the general fund, and use it for what we need it for. And so the policy that you received does suggest using it for that. We have to report it to the state if we exceed $35,000 a year. There's another way we generate income from federal funds, and that is when the federal funds are deposited into the borough account. Between the time it's deposited into the borough account and the time the check is cashed, it generates some interest. It generates very little interest. In fact, it's maybe less than $20 a year on everything. However, if we have under $500 in interest on any of the federal accounts, at the end of the year, we are allowed to transfer it to the general fund, and that's what we would propose to do. If it is over $500, it has to be returned to the Federal Department of Health and Human Services. And I don't ever want to have to know how to figure out how to do that. So
make sure it doesn't happen.
Well, it hasn't. The interest rates have been quite low. So we would need your approval on this so that the state realizes that we have an approved reuse plan.
Well, I would make that motion.
I'll second it.
Are you not done? I'm sorry.
No, you can't. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you. The next issue is the borough's fair housing resolution. This is, again, because we receive federal funds, the borough is required to affirmatively further fair housing. And one of the mandatory requirements for doing that is that the governing body pass a resolution indicating that they do not tolerate discrimination in housing for any of the protected classes, and the borough goes a little further than that. So this is something that has to be approved. We have to be able to present it to the state, signed, and it has to be published. This is one of two publications we have to do for fair housing. The other one was published today. And that simply says that that fair housing is, that discriminatory housing is not tolerated, and what discriminatory practices can be, and who people can contact in the event they feel they've been discriminated against. And we do that rather than appoint a specific individual in the borough. And one of the reasons we don't do that is because we have the Human Relations Commission. So.
We just need to approve that?
We just need a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
I need a second. Got a motion and second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you
Motion
very much.
carried.
Thank you, Ms. Stetler.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
The next item on the agenda is considering awarding the fiscal year 2017 liquid fuels project contract. Mr. Hughes is again away on vacation. However, the locations that were proposed were presented to you previously. They are West 11th Avenue from Fayette Street to Maple Street, Wood Street from West 5th Avenue to West 6th Avenue, Forest Street from West 2nd Avenue to West 3rd Avenue, East 8th Avenue from Fayette Street to Hollowell Street, Jones Street from East Hector Street to East Elm Street. The base bid that came in was the contract amount in the total of $221,270. What is currently in the budget for liquid fuels for 2017 is approximately $244,000. Therefore, the recommendation is to consider a motion to award the 2017 liquid fuels paving project base bid to Innovative Construction Services.
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second.
Got a motion and second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Next item is to consider approving a change order for the A Field Fence Project contract. This was briefly discussed when the bid was put in front of you last meeting. This is a housekeeping item. The bid that was accepted was for $239,217. The change order in front of you is to decrease that contract amount by $29,446, which would bring the current contract amount to $209,771. The savings is in a substitute fence approval for both the fence and the gates, which was previously discussed by Mr. Hughes in the last meeting. Again, this is just to solidify the contract number.
I'll make that motion to approve.
I'll second it.
I got a motion and second to approve the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Last item on the agenda are two block party requests. The first block party request is on September 9th, the 200 block of East 8th Avenue. It would be from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. They're asking to close East Avenue between Hollowell Street and Wells Street. This item has been vetted throughout all administration to all applicable departments. There's no issue. The police chief has signed off. Mr. Sokolowski has agreed to drop off barricades. We are recommending that due to the nature of the event and the need for no permits to be issued, that you approve the block party.
What are the hours? 1 to 5?
1 p.m. to 5 p.m. on September 9th.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
And a motion and second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Last block party is Conchi Tavern's second annual rib cooking contest, and this is actually for the Beats for Bella charity. The date is Sunday, October 1st, 2017, from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. The nature of this block party, based off of the grilling that they propose to do on site, requires the operational permit and requires a maximum of 2 hours of overtime for the fire inspector to inspect what they are requesting to do. Considering the nature of the event and the fact that it is for charity, the request is that you consider waiving the $75 operational permit and the overtime fee for the one fire inspector on the day of.
So where
This-
is this taking place?
This is taking place,
Oh, the Conchi Bakery.
Right.
yes, that's correct.
They had
So
the
what
last
street
one.
is what? Did it last year.
Tents and tables will be on Jones Street, and,
They use the parking, the bakery parking.
From Spring Mill
from,
to
yeah, from,
October 1st.
correct.
Spring Mill to Hector.
So the 2
I have that
hours
correct.
overtime would be on
No,
the
they're,
requester, or
No,
that's what they're asking
they're
to waive?
requesting that to be waived in addition to the permit fee,
So how much is that? $95?
approximately, yes.
I'll make
I don't
that.
have a
A
problem
motion?
with it.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
I got a motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Anything else?
Last thing is just a reminder that in your upload, the draft newsletter was sent to you. I'm just respectfully requesting any revisions, comments, suggestions that you'd like to see submitted by Friday at 12, so that we can stick with our timeline, deadlines, and get the newsletter out with applicable information to residents.
When are we looking to send that out?
It will be sent probably one to 2 weeks after your final approval. So everything would be applicable for the fall and winter, which is the content that's included in the newsletter.
The rec centers.
I have nothing else, Mr. President.
I have a public comment? No public comment? Another than? No public comment? Okay. Mayor?
Yeah, a couple of quick items, I don't think it'll take very much time. Possibility for next year, maybe, the concert in the park that we had last week had a pretty good crowd, and I had a couple people come up and say there were no trash cans around to put their trash in. I don't know if we could arrange for some portable units when there's a concert going on, and then remove them the next day or something like that, so maybe for next year, we can put that on the list. Somebody also said there was no flag. The Paul Moore band did the national anthem, and everybody was just standing around looking for a flag. I don't know if we could put a temporary flag up on when we have events down there or not.
Mr. Sokolowski, are we able to put?
Flag down there?
Sure.
Little League.
Yes.
Little League have-
Yeah, it's all the way down.
It's always down, yeah.
Yeah, Little League has a flag,
That's a good idea.
but get a portable flag.
Yeah.
A gentleman called me today, 4th Avenue East, 0 to 100 back-end parking, 100 to 200 front-end parking. He said, I come up, I'm driving up, they're all front-end here, I pull up, I front-end in the next block. He said, why would you have two different setups that far apart? And I said, well, I don't know. I said, the lieutenant will probably be there tonight. I would suspect one area because it's business, and there's a lot of business going in and out of there. Second block is residential, and those people prefer front end. I said, but I don't know for sure.
Are we referring to West 4th Avenue from Fayette to Forest?
East.
Oh, east. Okay, then
Georgia?
yes, so
Harry.
East 4th Avenue from Fayette to Harry.
Yes.
Okay, so the ordinance that for back-in parking only, to make it consistent?
Yeah, it should be
Well, I'm
like
just
that.
saying, do we have a reason on why we front in on one and back in on the other?
So in June, the ordinance 2017-6 was passed that would make East 4th Avenue from Fayette to Harry back in angle parking only.
Right.
So it would then be consistent, if I'm understanding.
Consistent with,
With it would only be a back-in parking option.
I think I know what you're saying.
with
Is
the
that-
next block
So
is
one
front.
block is front end, one block is back in, is what
Spring
it's.
Mill's back in.
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah.
Mine, Sixth
So
is
Fourth
it's just
Avenue
pull in.
past Harry
Right.
is
Yeah.
pull in,
Yeah,
Okay.
It gets
and that's
confusing.
back in.
Yeah,
So-
so I thought maybe because of business, there's a lot more rotation of
Maybe
cars
they
in
can
and out
help.
of this block, whereas the next block is residential, and those people like front and end, and that's where we established it to be, but I
And
don't know that for sure.
The other reason is probably because of the traffic pulling off of Fayette onto Fourth there. It's safer having them back in so they can see when they're pulling out.
Lieutenant Metz, do you have anything to add on that one?
It was always pull in, right front tire to the curb. Traditionally, that's what it was. And that's what it was on 4th Avenue, and it was never changed. When this additional parking, all the additional angle parking that they've added in recent times, like on Springwell Avenue, they required it to be back in because it is safer. Backing out, sight lines, speeding on Springwell Avenue,
Right.
like all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't anything that we were looking to do, you know what I mean, at the time, or recommended it, but I just remember when all that was done, especially on Spring Well, it was decided that way. People do hate it. They can't understand why they get a ticket for it, but the sign says that you got to do.
So is there an option to look at the next block and change it so that it's continuous? Is that what we're looking for?
No, but he was just asking why one and not the other, and on top of my head, I'm saying safety, because we got a lot of turnaround on that block, and the next block is all residents, so they're happy with the way things are, and
We'd love to change.
Mr. Sokolowski, do you have any comments?
Cool.
The decisions that the engineering department, the engineering company that has been here for a long time, and made along with the former superintendent.
So just from an operational take on this, we could potentially make the recommendation to change if we wanted to.
Every single one.
Great.
Something we can look at.
It might be best if administration in our operational meeting had discussed it and went from there.
so really, we don't have a set reason. Just the way
It doesn't
we
sound like it.
formulated that first block, and that's the way that went, the other has been that way for a long time.
Yeah, and your point was probably valid. I mean, because of the turning off of Fed Street right there, made it easier.
It's safer that way.
Sounds like we need an engineer to
Quick one from
help
Mr.
us.
Tierney, can you update us on the beer fest, and where can people buy tickets face-to-face without going online?
You have to buy them online.
So
Mr.
you
Tierney,
go
can you
around-
please come to the podium?
go
Thank
around
you.
that fee any which way, huh?
Tickets are available online at ConshohockenBeerFestival.com.
Right.
What was the next question?
Can't get around the fee then any which way.
That is correct.
Okay. And will status go?
We'll try to get you a discount code.
No discount, no discount for the Conshohocken people?
There is not.
Okay.
There's we offer everybody who bought tickets in the past a discount code before they go on sale. So everybody who bought them before gets emailed, which is mostly Conshohocken people. I mean, most people walk.
And a quick update for the uninitiated?
It's Saturday, October 14th. We open the gates at 12:30, and during that first half hour, we just have food and non-alcoholic drinks for sale available, and the music. And then at 1 o'clock, the breweries open up, and people can walk around with a cup and sample from 50 different breweries.
But there's food all day over the course of...
Correct. We just open it up early so people we don't build a line up on. The first year we did it, we had a big line on 11th. And to prevent that, we open up early so it's more time that people come in.
And what's the price of the ticket?
$50.
Does that include food?
Does not include food.
Any rain date?
There's not a rain date. It's rain or shine
And it's 12:30 until...
till 5. And we have shuttles that go around town too, picking people up to encourage people not to drive there.
And you have music.
Yes,
Is that a DJ or a band?
it's a band.
Which band?
They're called, same one as last year. They're called, I can't think of the name right now. Yes. They play like classic rock type music.
All right, good, thanks, Ed. And one more thing for Ray. Window air conditioner. Person wants to throw it out. When and where?
You can just leave it out.
Ticket any day? Okay, good. Thank you.
Yes?
Can you please come to the podium, state your name, address? Thank you.
With all the conversation about traffic, I just thought of this. I'm Judy Smith. I live on West 4th, right down the road. And this earlier this year, we experienced a huge truck illegally barreling up 4th Avenue, taking out all of the electric and the internet and everything else. And then he backed up, and I was out on my porch like flabbergasted. He backs up, and then he tries to escape out of town on Maple because he knew he wasn't supposed to be going up that way. Is there any way possible that we can prevent these large vehicles from coming up through the residential streets of Conshohocken? I mean, they took everything out. I don't know if you remember it. It was
Yeah.
like people were without internet for like the whole
They
day.
caught it. A girl got his license plate and the name of the truck. I turned it into Georgia, and they sent him citations or something. But that's the only way you're gonna watch it. If you catch the truck, try to get the license plate and the company they're from.
You know, the wires are low, the trucks are high, and
Yeah.
you know.
And a lot of them don't care. Yeah,
But
you're
I lived
right.
there 30 years ago. It happened
It
at least
happens right
every
down
2
here on
months.
Whatchacallit.
It's never been.
I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
How that could.
Just this, there are ordinances that address truck traffic in town. Some streets are, there's no truck traffic except for the delivery. I know that there's a warehouse right down the bottom of this street.
Yeah.
I know that there's a masonry, contractor, a big one, down this way. You know what I mean? So trucks will, from time to time, because they, of necessity, use streets that they're not normally using, and maybe mark no truck traffic. One of the problems is the wires don't meet the standards. They're not high enough, or they droop. They have to be high enough off the road so tractor trailers can, and one day a tractor trailer will go under it, and the next day a tractor trailer will tear it down because the heat and whatever affects that, and they droop over time, or the poles lean. So one of the problems is with all these overhead wires, and if you take a second story view of any avenue in this tank, you'll see it all. Is over time, those things they should actually be higher, so a truck can get on.
Oh, I do, I understand. I just didn't think that
It's like two
with additional police presence, which you were talking about having on the streets, is like, can you keep an eye out for those random vehicles that shouldn't be coming through the street anyway. So anyway, I just wanted to alert you guys
It's
to.
something that we address when we see it,
Yeah,
and we've also found, when I used to work the street, police work, there was GPS is screwing people up too, you know what I mean? Like they become totally reliant on these GPS units, and they end up lost.
They do,
And,
they do.
We don't ignore them.
Yeah, okay, well, I just,
Okay,
didn't know
thank
if
you.
there's something.
Thanks, Judy.
Come forward, please.
My name is Frank Carlin. I've been a resident 57 years at Conshohocken, and I would like to know if they have any progress on flagpole, or if it's a...
We talked about.
I know they said he was going to get one, but...
We got one. What's it called?
Yes.
We got the flagpole.
The installers within the parks. This is a busy season for them. We've already marked it off. All the markings are out front. The final marking was for the sprinkler system. They did that yesterday. So now we're just waiting for him to mobilize the equipment and get it here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bob, you got anything?
Yeah, while this truck thing was being talked about, George, I got another question for you. Our traffic police officer that does the traffic studies, I had somebody complain to me about a truck going down the industrial park. There's the building that burnt down, the flooring company that burnt down on Caldwell Lane. It's back there now. It's got quite a few companies in there now. So now the trucks go down 11th Avenue into that complex. Did we have somebody study, because some of these truckers over the roads, they do study the truck route signs, because I had a couple of truckers ask me if they can go down this street. I said, well, are you following the signs? He says, yeah, we are. Do we have those signs in town to stay on the truck route, wherever the truck routes are in this town?
I'm not aware, I don't know if there's a sign like that.
No, there is on Springville Avenue.
Don't
So White Marsh put a bunch of signs in gearing people into our borough.
But when Hale Pump was in operation, on Springville Avenue, they used to have the truck signs because they had so many trucks going into that complex. Down 10th, I'm sorry, down 10th, into the new, where all them new off the warehouses are. And one of the residents asked me at the bottom of the hill if we have truck signs at the top of 10th Avenue that they can follow, or they follow the truck routes. And there is truck routes off the expressway.
To be honest with you, I haven't thought about it that way.
Could we get somebody to look?
That may be a good idea.
Yeah, can we get somebody to look, because if they're not there anymore, we should enforce them, because some truckers will follow those signs. Because they have, in other states, they get ticketed, and, you know, they don't want the tickets because it affects their license.
Bob, but I have that on my list of items to discuss as a follow-up to this meeting with staff, so we'll address it
All
at
right.
our meeting on Friday.
One more thing, when Bob concert in the parks, it was great. They were great. It was very well attended, and a lot of people follow these bands, but I think if we can get the one out of August, which was so hot, and maybe move it into September, I think we'll get more people attending them down there, and people are on vacation also. So if we can get maybe one in the beginning of September, maybe after Labor Day, I think maybe more people would attend it. But it's a great way to show off our park too, because the park is beautiful down there, and it's filled. It's filled with people on the baseball fields, on the playground equipment, on the basketball courts. It's amazing the amount of people that use that park down there, walking the path. So thank you.
Great.
It was a great summer down there with the concerts.
We actually had requests from the residents for more concerts and at more parks.
Parks.
Also.
Be a good
on
idea.
Mondays.
Be a good idea.
So,
Alternate
something
them.
we can look into for next year.
Alternate them to different parks, you know?
Just have more.
Teresa?
I have just one suggestion for the summers in the parks, which were really great this year, thank you. But can we add, or consider adding like maybe an international night where you can feature international music? I'd love to have some calypso of my own.
We can definitely add. Yeah,
Absolutely.
different options.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Great, thank you.
I just want to report that things are going very well with Marywood Park Commission. We have a meeting this Monday coming up, and our staff has been great helping us look into different types of grants that will be available for historical properties, and we're looking forward to continuing our planning for the centennial of the Marywood Park, and in 2020 we'll have a big celebration.
I don't have anything, thank you.
Nita?
I just want to give another shout out to Ray and his crew, who helped a woman on 6th who took down a huge bamboo, I guess, overgrowth, and the guys were kind enough to stop and actually help her. So thank you, and thank you to your men.
Tina?
I have a couple things. First thing, the fall rowing program for the 13 to 17-year-olds. So Conshohocken Rowing Center offers free rowing classes to the 13 to 17-year-olds for Conshohocken residents. So I would strongly encourage, it's a gateway into potential scholarships if the kids get into rowing as they go through their education process.
Question on that. Do they need their own boat? Do they need their own oars?
They do not. They do not. There is equipment that the Borough has down there that is accessible for those folks.
They just find out when it's scheduled and show
Yep,
up?
and it'll be in the circular that's coming out, and it's also on the website. So more information you can get there. The second thing is kind of exciting. I had Fitness Fusion. Melissa asked me about the idea if Borough Council would allow her to run a prepare for a 5K program on the new walking track up at the A field. And I told her that I would bring that out to council, but I didn't think that, from my perspective, that we would object to that, as we're trying to promote the health and wellness of the community, and for people like me who need to get back in shape and might want to run a 5K, I think that so I'm putting that out there. If anyone has any objections, just let me know, and then we can have Melissa work with Stephanie and the staff.
While Tina's talking, the Fellowship House, yoga, St. Mark's had a yoga for, a woman was running yoga
Okay.
at St. Mark's
Okay,
for, I guess, 15 years or whatever, but she retired.
okay.
Now these young ladies and men are looking for a place for yoga.
A yoga option.
Yes, is it going to be at the Fellowship House this year?
Melissa is working on finding an instructor, yes, to offer it at the
Because
community
there's like
center.
20 women and men that would like to move over there to the Fellow if it's available. Okay?
Understood.
All right, thank you.
The third thing is the citizen survey. I just want to kind of put that out there, and Steph, if you want to go through that real quick, where we're at, what.
Yes, so our citizen survey has been released. Residents should, if you were randomly chosen, your household was randomly selected, you would have received a yellow postcard, which would encourage you to complete the survey. The first round of surveys was mailed on August 11th. The second was on August 18th. If you were not randomly selected through mail copy, then the online survey option opens on September 8th, and we encourage everyone to participate. You can access it through the Borough website. There's information right now up on the Borough website that will direct you to where on the website you need to go. That is open from September 8th to October 6th. And then the Borough will receive a compilation of the results, and it will be packaged into a report, which will then also be available to the public on the website.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And then lastly, I just wanted to let folks know the Comprehensive Plan Task Force has been meeting. We are starting to develop the chapters of our Comprehensive Plan Task Force, of the Comprehensive Plan. We're right now in the process of collecting all of the data that kind of goes into the comprehensive plan, and from there we'll then start building out the various chapters. The citizen survey is part of the information that we will gather to address things in the plan, as well as there will be a visioning session, a public visioning session at the end of September. Just looking at what date. Is it October? Did we go into October?
It's October 18th.
October 18th. So more information will come out about that. We have 8,200 residents in the Borough of Conshohocken, give or take. And I strongly encourage that everyone makes their voice heard in the Borough of Conshohocken. We are committed to creating a document that really aligns us in the future for what the residents are interested in to see in their community. So I encourage all 8,200 of us to come to the visioning session.
So Tina, the people in a household will get one survey if they get it in the mail, but then the other person in the household could go online and complete the survey?
That's correct.
And that completes my report.
I got one thing. Meeting adjourned.